It was recently announced that Samsung will stop production on their Blu-ray players. So what better time to start a Blu-ray review show? First up, I have Arrow Video's release of Sister Street Fighter. Or, to be specific, the Sister Street Fighter collection. Sister Street Fighter was an offshoot of the Sony Chiba Street Fighter series, and it's wham bam, anything goes, made really quick action films. First off, you have the classic Sister Street Fighter, and then you have the sequel, Sister Street Fighter Hanging by a Thread, the third picture, Return of the Street Fighter, and finally, Sister Street Fighter Fifth Level Fist. Whether you're gonna like these or not really depends on how much love you have for Japanese exploitation. These films were made real quick by Toei to capitalize on the Street Fighter franchise. Now, the first three are directed by Wolf Guy's Kazuki Yamaguchi, and I love his handheld, in-your-face style. It gives a kind of kineticism to the Sister Street Fighter films that you don't always find in Japanese cinema, unless you're looking at something like the work of Kinji Fukasaku, who brought a kind of you-are-there feel to his films. This set, which has all those 4 films on it, it's got interviews with the director Kazuhiko Yamaguchi, the screenwriter for some of the films, and even Sony Chiba. The only person missing from the set is a star of the films, Etsuhiko Shihomi, who supposedly retired from the industry and hasn't set foot in front of the camera since then. Secondly, we have Severin Films release All the Colors of Giallo. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I love Giallo. Black Glove Killers, the great music, the psychotic violence portrayed in the most visual of ways. A set like this is made for me. It has a 90-minute documentary that, while it does kind of touch on all the big films, Dario Argento, Sergio Martino, Umberto Lenzi, it does actually feature all these people who appear in front of the camera and talk about their experiences. And it's also a good place to start for beginners, or even veteran lovers of the genre, who just want to hang out with all these creative people under one roof. What really makes this set stand out is the 4 hours of Giallo trailers. I'm a huge fan of trailer discs. The trailers, especially for the films that are included on this disc, are an art form all of their own. They want to sell these Giallos, and they're going to do it in really interesting ways that don't always reflect the movie that actually came out. Most importantly, when it comes to trailer discs, this includes a commentary over the whole 4 hours with Kat Ellinger, an expert when it comes to this stuff. She wrote the book on Sergio Martino, All the Colors of Sergio Martino, and she's done tons of commentaries for tons of Giallos. So she knows her stuff, and the rapid-fire delivery over all these trailers is exactly what anyone who buys this disc is looking for. And there's also an interview with John Martin, the editor of the Giallo Times. And on the second disc of this special edition, there's 90 minutes of trailers for Creamy Films. Now, if you don't know what Creamy Films, they're essentially the proto-Giallo that came out of Germany. So while not all these films give me the rush that I want from classic Giallo, it's really great to be able to see them all in trailer form so I can get the bite-sized pieces. If any of them capture my imagination, I can go, yes, now I want to go to watch that one. And to add even more context to the Creamies, there's an interview with film historian Marcus Stigler, who talks about how they were important and how they led to the Giallos we all know and love. Third disc, a music CD. Now, usually it's nice to have a music CD in a set, but we're talking about Giallos here, and they have great themes, and there's some real deep cuts on this disc that makes this whole package a must-buy. And finally, from Vinegar Syndrome, I have Battle for the Lost Planet and Mutant War. Both films were directed by Brett Piper in the early 80s, and they're essentially Star Wars ripoffs by way of Ray Harryhausen shot in someone's backyard for as little money as possible. If that sounds interesting to you, you gotta see these movies. They're made by someone super passionate who at the time was putting his heart and soul in these movies. And while I prefer the first one, Battle for the Lost Planet, a little bit funnier, it's a little bit looser with its style, it's a little bit more self-aware, which makes it a little bit more appealing. It's got more of that kind of, let's put a team together and make a movie. The sequel, Mutant War, is mostly up to that kind of post-apocalyptic stuff that was coming out in the 80s. But it's kind of great to see them both compared against each other. Because the first one, Battle for the Lost Planet, shot in 16mm, kind of done by one person. The second one, Mutant War, had some money behind it. And writer-director Brett Piper said that kind of hurt the film. It's a little bit stiffer, it's not as fun. There's almost a dozen stop-motion monsters in it, but there isn't that charm of the first part. Both of them are worthwhile, and it's great that they're put together, especially when you have writer-director Brett Piper / stop-motion animator, who's still making films to this day, talk about them in one of the special features. He's no holds barred. He talks about all the problems that he had while making the films, and he kind of questions why somebody would want to watch the film again, considering that he thinks that his newest films, which include stuff like Triclops and Queen Crab, are a big evolution for him as a filmmaker. So to recap, Sister Street Fighter, 4 movies, interviews with people that were involved, best picture quality you're gonna get. All the Colors of the Giallo, totally worthwhile if you love Giallo and you just want to dive deeper in this world. Brett Piper's Battle for the Lost Planet, Mutant War set, You can get it from Vinegar Syndrome, and it's definitely worth your money. You can follow me on Twitter at DeCloux, D-E-C-L-O-U-X, and then the letter J. You can also listen to the Important Cinema Club, which is a podcast that I do with Will Sloan that's released every week. We also do the Important Cinema Club Super Show, which is a movie review show of newer pictures that is released every 2 weeks. So make sure to subscribe to this channel, because I'd really appreciate it. And until then, remember, physical media forever.